Appreciate it.
Sure.
Let's discuss this out front with us now. Jim Arcadis, he's a former counterterrorism analyst at the Defense Department, and Carl Higby, he's a Donald Trump supporter and a former Navy SEAL. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Jim, first to you. With all of this background, as Renee was laying it out, you think this is an overreaction. Why?
Well, yeah, I mean, basically what happened is a couple days ago, the president signed a spending bill. In it, there was a provision that said individuals who travel to Iran, Iraq, Syria, or Sudan could endure additional scrutiny when they're entering the country. This might have something to do with playing in why the family was denied boarding. I mean, basically, it boils down to overheated rhetoric. And when we get into a season like campaign season, all of a sudden we're talking about barring Muslims and all of these other things. We have to be conscious about what that does to American moral authority. The idea that we were founded to be this great country, this cultural melting pot of heritages that celebrates freedom and openness and all of these things. We have to take into account that when there is overheated rhetoric, that yanks our policy making and ultimately our laws in the direction of intolerance.
So Jim, you blame Trump too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's call Donald Trump what he is. He's a racist, he's a sexist, and he's a bigot. And when we fail to call out this type of language, we're only encouraging it to continue. So it's partially Donald Trump's fault, of course, but it's also the rest of the Republican field who has not done a good job of standing up to intolerance and saying we can't talk like this because America's values are too important to throw by the wayside as well.
So, Carl, I want you to weigh in, but Jim's not alone. As we heard, the family, they partially blamed Donald Trump at least, and there was even British lawmakers who have weighed in blaming Donald Trump, saying that he's to blame as well. Why are they all wrong?
Well, anybody can weigh in and say that this is Donald Trump's fault, but the fact of the matter is Donald Trump has absolutely no effect on policy right now, and anybody who says that this is Donald Trump's fault or he had any say in this whatsoever is completely ignorant of the process. What we need to look at, too, is look at the people who are in the White House right now. They have more effect on this than anything Donald Trump would ever say. This is not fueled by the American populace and how they... This is fueled by the U.S. government and their policies that are affected by the people in power right now.
Jim, to Carl's point, I mean, this is all coming after the attacks in Paris, the attacks in San Bernardino. Isn't this larger than Donald Trump?
Look, we're in a time of increased vigilance. Everybody understands that. We have to continue to be vigilant and do our best to keep the country safe. But when we let people like Donald Trump use inflammatory rhetoric, and we fail to say that it's wrong, and we fail to say that it's not what America stands for and what we strive to be as a nation, we lose a little bit of that moral high ground to be able to stand up to the agents of intolerance. We have to understand that when we use inflammatory rhetoric, we get yanked further and further to the right towards the xenophobic rhetoric that people like Donald Trump use, and that all of a sudden stands in our policy debates and in our legal debates that ultimately form laws, and that is a really dangerous thing to be playing with. So we have to be vigilant. We have to absolutely be vigilant. We have to understand that there is an existing threat, but we also have to understand what the costs are to America's moral authority when we use insensitive and intolerant language like this.
Go ahead, Rob.
You're sitting there saying that this is not the tradition, not the American values, and we can't let Donald Trump say. The American values rest in our Constitution, where we can say whatever might be offensive, but we can't. I mean, you can't say fire in a crowded theater, but we do have those values.
I fully support Donald Trump's right to say whatever he would like.
Freedom of speech, or do you want to not let people say something?
No, that is a false argument. I fundamentally support Donald Trump's right to say everything that he wants to say that meshes with the First Amendment to our Constitution. However, it is my job to call out his intolerance and to make a better argument that the United States is a worse place when we let Donald Trump say the types of intolerant things that he's going to say and we don't call him out on it.
Let me ask you this, Carl. There's a lot not known about this situation, of course, but do you think this is the system working, or does it still seem like this is just exposing more flaws in the system that already exists?
I mean, the government obviously is not actually any type of beacon of success or, smooth running machinery, but this happens every day. This happens to people I've known that have been, their chip got mixed up on their passport. This happens to normal, everyday, even Americans this happens to. They can't travel around the country because they get on a no-fly list for no reason. This just happened to a Muslim family that was coming over here to Disney World. It made a great soundbite. They blamed it on Donald Trump. It made sense for the liberal left to spin it however they wanted to. And the fact of the matter is, this is just one of many instances that has happened to many, many, many people, and it means that someone is doing their job to do something. I mean, there's some reason why. We just don't know what it is yet. To speculate that it's Donald Trump is completely ridiculous.
Gentlemen, this debate is definitely not over, and I still do wonder if that family will ever find out exactly why they were barred from coming in. Carl, Jim, thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Out front for us next, new details